What up, y'all? Welcome to another video. In this video, I'm very excited to talk about this topic because as someone with a career in sales and have started different businesses in my lifetime and a genuine interest in dating, we're going to be talking about the similarities, sales and business and dating, which is hilarious because there is so much overlap. It's like the exact same sequential steps and frameworks. So we're gonna be getting into some sauce. I know I look like a scrub right now, but my hair is like super dry and super curly, and this is what you're getting tonight. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I think it's hilarious, right? When you think about business, and if you don't know business while you're watching this video, just bear with me. I'll explain a little bit of these things, but otherwise, I'm assuming that if you clicked on this video, you know a little bit about sales, a little bit about business. So the first things first, in business, when you wanna sell a product or service, what do you need? Leads. You need phone numbers. You need people or businesses that you can contact in order to sell your service. What do you need when you're dating? Leads, prospects. You need phone numbers of girls, like, right, if you're a guy, or, you know, it could be, but typically this is gonna be for the men here because men are the one pursuing women for the most part, setting up dates, approaching them, asking for phone numbers. So that's kind of how this is gonna flow for this one. But like, you need phone numbers, right? So if you're dating, actually, we'll start with business, right? With business, you can like run ads, you can do social media organic content, you can like send emails, you can collect emails to do lead generation on different like websites and all this stuff, right? So you have to like capture leads. You have to get people to give you their contact information, their email or their phone number so that you can reach out to them and try to sell them something. In dating, it's the same thing. You have like dating apps for lead generation to find women, to find dating prospects. You can go out and you can cold approach, you can go out on the streets, you can go to coffee shops, you can go to bars, ask for phone numbers, approach women, right? You have social circle, you have friends, you have maybe parties, get-togethers, things like that where you're gonna meet girls that you didn't otherwise know, right? So that is lead generation. And then you also have lead nurture, right? Which is like for business, you might have, again, like more emails going out. You might have more like content on social media, right? So that like someone who becomes a lead, who's like maybe interested, potentially interested in the product, can get nurtured, right? Can get messages, can get social media, can get content, can get whatever to warm them up a little bit, get them maybe a little bit more interested than they were initially when they gave their information. Same thing with dating, right? Like, There are several different ways that you could do this, but like one thing that's super top of mind for me recently that I like is like sometimes I'll just add a girl on social media, like on like I'll get her Instagram, and it's funny because Instagram compared to phone number, there's way more lead nurture on Instagram because like you post a story and she sees it. Maybe she like swipes up if she's super hot or super warm. Not hot as in attractive, hot as in like the temperature level of her as a prospect if she's interested in you, right? So that's super funny because you also, if you post content, if you post stories, if you post whatever, she's constantly kind of like seeing your face, seeing who you are. So it's kind of like nurturing her, like you're staying top of mind. So you could have a girl on Instagram for like weeks or months and you never even like set up a date, but she's getting nurtured if she sees your stuff. Versus what's funny is with a phone number, with dating, like unless you directly reach out to her or call her, she's not getting like nurtured at all. So that's an interesting point. Okay, here's where it gets fun. Setting appointments, right? Oh, for business, you're setting appointments. So I've done this in the past, right? For sales, where you're an appointment setter, or in corporate, you're a BDR, SDR, sales development representative, business development representative, which is like you are making calls to leads, trying to set appointments so that another salesperson or a closer or account executive, account manager can close the deal. For dating, same thing, you're setting dates, right? You're literally like, you're texting the girl, you're DMing her, whatever, you're setting an appointment, right? And then for sales, obviously, for business, you're doing a sales call, right? Appointment, you're doing that reach out. Hey, you know, X, Y, and Z, let's set up another call. Or you're doing like a cold call or like a outbound call, having that conversation, getting them more interested, setting an appointment so that you can try to close the deal. For dating, texting, DM, whatever, let's set up a date. And then within that, what's funny is you see in business, like for the sales company that I've worked in, once we set an appointment, we have like email confirmation, reminder emails going out, like homework to send, like reminder text, right? Like 24 hours before the meeting, like, hey, just want to remind you, we have a meeting for XYZ time tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And then like an hour before the meeting, it's like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm still calling you in an hour. For dating, it's the same thing. And it's actually really good practice once you set a date, especially if it's like a week in advance, but like definitely even if it's like 2 days in advance, 1 day, whatever, it's like check in after you set the initial appointment to be like, hey, like we're still gonna see you for dinner at 7 tomorrow, right? Yes, okay, cool. And then like sometimes I'll send a message midday to a date that I'm gonna have, which is just like, hey, excited to see you later. Or I wouldn't even say that actually, that's a little simpy. But I'll say something like, if we're getting drinks, like I'll text her at like 10 or 11 a.m. if we're getting drinks at night, and I'll be like, is it time for drinks yet? Or, you know, is it time for margaritas yet? Or something like that. It's like, haha. And then like later it's like, yo, like gonna be getting ready soon. I'll text you when I'm like in the Uber or something like that. It's like literally just like a touch point, like just a check-in. And it's just like reconfirming this is like, hey, it's like a little reminder. Because you don't want to go from like in sales and in dating, you don't want to go from like set the appointment 48 hours ago, say absolutely nothing until the actual appointment happens. Like that's you're almost guaranteed to get a no-show if you do that, I feel like. And then bada bing, bada boom, what comes next? You guessed it, closing the deal, right? You're on a sales call, you're trying to close the deal. You are trying to pitch the person, let them know why it's a good fit, build rapport with them, and then ask for their credit card and get them to sign up with your product or service. In the dating organization, you are the product. You are the service. You are selling yourself to the other individual. Now, obviously, there has to be synergy. There has to be rapport. You have to make sure that you're a good fit. They're a good fit for your product or service, which is you. And closing the deal could be, right, taking her home if that's your goal for the night, if that's where things are going. Or it could just be, you could still have a successful, like on the business side, you could still have a successful sales call that doesn't end in a deal closed, but it could end in you setting another appointment or furthering the sales process. Same thing on the date where it's like, hey, like, cool, this was really fun. Like, do you want to go on a walk in a couple days, or let's hit a hike next weekend? Like maybe you set up an additional date, right? Another thing, right? next point in the process, after closing the deal, or actually after the sales call or the date, if you do not close the deal, what should you do? Follow up. Gotta do some follow up, right? You gotta make sure, hey, didn't close the deal, let me follow up in a couple days, let me follow up in a week, let me follow up in a couple months. Just depends on the sales cycle, depends on the product that you're selling, whatever the case. And then on the dating side, depends on how well the date went. It depends, did it go good? Did you kiss her? Is it gonna be like, hey, let's set up another thing? Or is it gonna be like, hey, we had a great fucking night, I took her home, we hooked up, and I wanna do it again. I'm gonna follow up, I wanna do it again, I wanna see her again, whatever the case may be. So that's kind of like the full thing, but here's some other little funny gems as well. If you think about cold calls in sales, what are cold calls in dating? Cold approach, right? It's the same thing. People will say, oh man, cold calling sucks. Oh, you're just calling random phone numbers. That's so hard, you get rejected, blah, blah. Guess what, motherfucker? It's the same thing if you just walk up to a bunch of girls in public who you don't know. Like, you're gonna get rejected. You're gonna have to be really good and really charismatic if that person picks up the phone in business, or if the girl decides to even engage you in public. Like, you gotta come correct. You gotta have good tonality. You gotta have good like body language. You gotta say the right things. You gotta hook them in. You gotta intrigue them. You gotta, right? So it's like, it's so funny how these things are the same. Another point, gauging tonality is massive in communication, especially in sales, but also in dating, of course, right? When in sales, I'll give you an example of something that is hyper relevant to what I'm doing right now. I'm doing some sales right now where what I'm doing is I'm essentially calling someone to do an appointment setting an appointment. And at some point in the call, I'm going to offer the call. I'm going to say, hey, I don't actually say this, but I'm saying like, do you want to do the next call? And you're going to get multiple different answers to that from different prospects. Some you're going to get, no, I'm not down at all. Some you're gonna get hell yes, and then others you're gonna get like I guess we could do that, or like, sure. And then it's like, whoa, you gotta gauge that tonality. You gotta listen for the tonality, because a lot of times people don't mean what they say. You know more about what somebody means by how they say it, not what they said. So somebody says that, they're like, yeah, sure. Me on the phone, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Back it up a second. Sure? You don't sound so sure. What's really going on here? And then I'm trying to dig in and I'm trying to figure out why might they be uncertain? Why did I not get a hell yes, right? The other night, I was at the bar. I went up to a girl. We made eye contact multiple times. We were like looking at each other. I went up and said hello. We had a nice conversation. I was joking around, making her smile, being goofy, whatever. And then things kind of fizzled down. Can I get your number? And she was like, sure. It was like super like uncertain and like kind of like weird. And I was just like, I literally like just kind of took a step back and I was like, oh, well, like it's totally cool. Like you don't have to give me your phone number. Like I don't want to force you into anything. Like I just, and she was like, I mean, no, sure. Like, I guess I'll give it to you. And I was just like, I almost didn't even want the number because what I knew from what she was saying is I don't really want to give you my phone number, but I'm not going to tell you no. So I'll just give it to you, but then I'm just going to like ghost you is basically like what went down. Funny enough, I was actually wrong. I got the number and she texted me the next day. So I guess I did something right there. But anyways, what else do I have there? Oh, if on the business side, you set a meeting, you set a sales call, and they cancel or they reach out and they're like, hey, like, can we reschedule, blah, 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 and they don't give you another time to reschedule, their intent is probably low, and they probably never wanted to do the sales call in the first place. So you get that a lot of time in sales and business, right? They'll reach out and they'll be like, hey, something came up, like, can we reschedule? And you're like, yeah, sure, no problem. When do you want to reschedule? Ghost. It's like, they don't fucking want to reschedule. They just wanted to get out of it. Same thing happens in dating all the time. Guys will get bailed on all the time. A girl will flake. She'll say, let's reschedule, or she'll set the date, but then maybe she'll ghost you when you try to like remind her or follow up with her about it, right? And so it's funny because I was telling this to one of my coworkers who I do sales with, and I was like, she was asking about the rescheduling thing, and I go, it's the same thing in dating. If a girl or a guy that you're trying to date says, oh yeah, like I can't do it tonight, sorry, and then just like leaves you there, you're like, okay, what the fuck? Like I guess you don't want to hang out. Versus if someone's like, and they probably just made up some excuse to get out of it because they don't really want to do it. Versus if they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, like something came up with my mom, like I have to help her so I can't meet with you tonight, but can you do a couple days from now instead at 7 or whatever? Like they offer a new time slot to reschedule, then like they're not just bullshitting you to try to get out of it. They genuinely want to hang out. They genuinely want to do the thing, but they had something come up, so they gave you another one. So anyways, I love that as a sales guy and as somebody who's interested in just dating and game and human psychology and stuff like that. I find that shit hilarious. Let me know if you've ever thought about sales and dating in this way. I think they are hilariously the same, and it's actually really cool, and it's like interesting to think that if you understand one, you kind of by default understand the other. So if you're watching this video right now and you only understand sales and business and you don't understand dating and women, now you understand both. And if you only understood dating and women and game and you didn't know anything about business and sales, now you know this one too. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Cheers.